great divisions. Everything seems to be driving us apart into our separate and opposite camps. This era has been described as the age of the either-or. Either you are a Democrat or you are a Republican. Either you are a conservative or you are a liberal. Either you like pumpkin pie or you hate pumpkin pie. This one is a point of contention in our house. Yes, it's mostly either or these days. Either you are for what I'm for or you are against it. And if you are not for me, then you must be against me. It's gotten so bad, people are afraid to talk anymore. We're afraid at work. We're afraid at friendly or family gatherings. We're afraid at church. People might hear that I am for something or against something, and so I must be for them or against them. It makes us all defensive or silent, cowering in our corners, or at best, only surrounding ourselves with people we're sure will think like us, feel like us, look and sound like us. And so we come into church today in this one season, this one time of year, when we can feel the most at peace, feel comfort and joy, find hope and love. And everyone can agree on those feelings because it's Christmas time, the most wonderful time of the year, right? When even the secular world acknowledges us. They don't do a whole lot for Easter, right? They'll do nothing for Pentecost. But by golly, they're glad to do our Christmas. So we come into church and we see our glorious decor. Thank you for those who worked so hard this week to put this up. It's such great. I know especially that big, tall, beautiful tree to get all the way up and around was amazing, but thank you. Plus there's added little pieces. Did you notice there's extra ribbons and stuff? It's really nice this year. Wow. We get to do it right too, right? We get to keep Christ in Christmas. So we sit down in our pews, and what do we get? Not yet Christmas. We get Advent. The season of waiting. Of expectation. Okay, that's all right. We can all be like kids, right? Waiting for Christmas morn. The gifts are coming. The good stuff is coming. Baby Jesus is coming. It's awesome. I can't wait. But then, we hear the gospel lesson this morning. Here at the beginning of Advent. And we do get Christ speaking directly to us, but he ain't no baby Jesus. This is grown-up Jesus. Adult raving Jesus. For mature audiences Jesus. Jesus at the beginning of our joyous Advent anticipation is talking about, here at the beginning, the end. About scary stuff. About apocalyptic events. It's like having somebody come to your Christmas party and they're talking about climate change and killer asteroids and famine in Yemen and earthquakes in Alaska. Folks, are you seeing all those signs in the sun, moon, and the stars? The earth is in distress, people. There's roaring in the seas and the waves. Do you know how high the sea levels are rising? I mean, people are fainting with fear. The earth and the heavens are being shaken. Not something you want to hear about over your pumpkin pie. It's never far from my mind this time of pumpkin pie. Jesus is talking about fearful things. And they were real things. Very much real things in his day. At that time, the Roman Empire, scary stuff, occupied all of Israel. And before that generation passed away, sure enough, Only 30 years or so after Jesus spoke these very words, those Roman armies marched on Jerusalem and completely destroyed the city. Pretty much as Jesus describes it, a stone left on stone. The dangers were real. The end of their lives, as they knew it, was indeed drawing near. And how does Jesus tell his listeners, his followers, to react? Now, when these things begin to take place, stand up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. And then he compares these terrifying times to trees. Not wintry, leafy, scary trees, but summer trees, bursting with leaves and getting ready to be fruitful and multiplying. And then finally, he tells us to be alert, to pay attention, to stay in the game. Don't roll up into a ball. I'm scared. Don't hide away in our homes or our rooms or our chat rooms. Internet reference there. Or stay only in the comfort of the voices we're familiar with, our own teams, our own tribes. And he also says, don't self-medicate with drinking or drugs or, let's go lighter than that, video games. Or even with the self-medication of shopping and cleaning and packing and wrapping and all that holiday merrymaking. He says, be alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that will take place and to stand before the Son of Man. This bad thing of the things you're escaping, and this good thing of standing before the Son of Man, our Savior, our God. I don't know. Which is it going to be? Which is it? Either it's comfort and joy, or it's peace and light, or it's the edge of darkness, facing grief and loss, and danger and destruction. Which is it? Are we at the beginning, or are we at the end? Once again, I bring us back to where I started from. So many voices and forces around us, demanding us to see all the signs as either or. Our side is good, their side is bad. Our news is real, their news is fake. If you're not for us, you are against us. What Jesus offers us this morning is not either or. It's both and. Both and. Both and. Charles Dickens summed it up perfectly in that opening line of his book, The Tale of Two Cities. You know how it goes, right? It was
the best of times.
It was
the worst of times.
Together. And Jesus teaches us this over and over again. And we, the church, have a name for it. It's beyond the church, but we're going to claim it as ours today. It is called paradox. It means, one of the definitions, go with mine. It means when two things that seem to be opposite still hold truth and are still meant to be kept together. Even when we can't get our minds around how those two things could possibly hang out together. Paradox is found in almost everything we say, we do, we believe about being Christians, and about being the Church of Jesus Christ, and especially about being Lutherans. Yeah. The Trinity is a paradox. God is one, and God is three. Both and a paradox. God is our Father, and our Daddy is our Father. Both and a paradox. Jesus is both God and human, the Son of God and the Son of Man, both and a paradox. Each of us, in our good Lutheran teachings, is both 100% sinner and 100% saint. Both and a paradox. You can't have 200% Big Paul. Jesus, right now, is in heaven, and he's here with us, and he's especially here with us, in with and under, the bread and wine, the body and blood right here. And he will come again when he returns to earth, and he describes himself as it is described right here in this gospel today. He's coming back. Check it out, a triple paradox. Paradox is at the very heart of everything Christian. It's the mystery of our faith. Christ on a cross, the baddest of all bad outcomes. Christ risen from the grave, the bestest of all best outcomes. Both and a paradox. This is the deeper truth, the deepest reality, that goes far deeper and longer and stronger than any voice or force that seeks to divide us, that makes us make the false choice of either or. Jesus tells us and shows us that it was never meant to be us against them, never meant to be either them or us. Christ takes that earthly battle cry, that worldly battle cry that says, if they are not for us, they are against us, and he turns it on his head, turns it into a paradox. Turns it from either or into both and. He says, if they are not for us, yet they are still with us. In his kingdom, he makes enemies friends. He forgives those who kill him. He beats swords into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks, as the scripture says. In his kingdom, lions lie down with lambs, because his grace and mercy are strong enough to destroy death and the powers of hell forever. Strong enough to break down the walls and sides that separate us. Strong enough to overcome all of the either-or choices that have sent us down separate paths and set us at each other's throats. In the end, God's grace is enough to stop all the sin and separation, turning all the either-or into both and for eternity. How is that possible? How can the end also be the beginning? How can we all be redeemed? How can even the good and the bad be redeemed? How can Jesus both cross out the world's wrongs and cross us over into his resurrection reality? That new heaven and new earth promised by God? I don't know. It's a mystery. It's a paradox. Somehow, all of us, through Christ, with Christ, in Christ, all of us can have our cake and eat it too. Or maybe it's that pumpkin pie.